On this module, we are going to be focusing on creating triads on the boards in question. I'm going to spend a minute or two on the keyboard, but I'm going to spend most of this module unpacking the fretboard. If you are completely uninterested in learning the fretboard, you should watch anyway, because this will help you make better keyboard music. So looking at page 61 of module 7, creating triads on the keyboard seems obvious enough, because you can actually see everything laid out. But creating triads on the fretboard is tough. So if you'll see the diagram that we put right there in the middle of the page, this is a version of the one that we've been seeing before that shows us the notes on the fretboard. We see our familiar Eddie 8 Dynamite, Goodbye Eddie, kind of listed across the top, but now it's in a vertical orientation, or portrait for you graphic designers. So now the notes are in the same exact place, now it's been turned 90 degrees. Does that make sense, everybody, seeing that diagram? Because some people are going, wow. So we're still using the exact same notes, but from here on out, all fretboard chord diagrams are going to be in a vertical orientation. And in the wild, when you see them printed out, they're almost always in a vertical orientation like this. Okay? So we're going to create an E major chord. Now, at the end of the quiz that we just finished in the prior video, we put some pictures of some chords. The very first one was E major, and the pictures were trying to make an E major chord, or E, G sharp, and B. Now, just really quickly over on the keyboard, E, G sharp, and B, no sweat. Here's our two black keys. There's the E, the major chord as a minor third, and a major third, and then a minor third above it. E, G sharp, and B, no problem. And because we don't have duplications and everything lays out, I can put my E down here. I can put my B here, my G sharp way over there, and there's the nice little E major voicing. I can also double, and I could do this. Those are all different versions of an E major chord, different voicings. But it's all kind of laid out, and though you might be new to it, it's a lot simpler than our fretboard. So let's go unpack things over at the guitar, and let's build an E major chord on the fretboard. So the notes that we're looking for is E, G sharp, and B, right? Nobody can respond all at the same time because it's really confusing. Everybody wake up, come on.
Yes,
there we go. E, G sharp, and B. Yes, Mr. Biel is the best answer. Joe gets extra candy next time. Okay? So making an E major chord, we want the notes E, G sharp, and B. Let's make a chord on the fretboard where we're using all the strings. If you've taken guitar lessons, you're going to be like, duh. But pay attention, because this is why the shape they taught you exists. We want the notes E, G sharp, and B. So Eddie 8 Dynamite. So we've got an open E. That works just the way it is, right? E, no problem. The next string A is not part of our chord. It's not a G sharp or a B or an E. So we need to make it one of those. The easiest one to grab a hold of would be a B natural, because the A at the open fret, or the open nut, go up a fret to A sharp. At the second fret is a B natural. So we want to push this string down to make part of our E chord. So we've got a couple of notes going. Okay? And if you're following along, now we're on page 62, and I'm starting at the second paragraph. The next string D, or dynamite, can be fretted at the second fret also to create an E note. So I've got a D open. I want to get to an E note. All right? So I go D, D sharp, D. Here's an E right there at the second fret. We haven't done a G sharp yet. There are G sharps on those strings, but these are the easy ones to grab that are part of the E major chord. So we've got an E, we've got an E fretted here, and we've got an E fretted there. The next string, G, for Eddie 8 Dynamite, Goodbye Eddie, is a G natural. We want a G sharp. How are you going to get that way? One fret up is going to get me G sharp. Boom. I'll fret right there. So now I've got the pattern of this note E, that note E, and this note G sharp. This guy's still open. And the bottom two strings can stay open because they are also by Eddie, B, E. So if I put my fingers in this position, I've got this one here, excuse me. Y'all let me know if the camera's still good. B here, E there, and G sharp there. If I take those three strings and I strum all six, there's an E major chord. Doesn't that sound beautiful? I'll do it again just because it gave me, a nice feeling in the back of my neck. Okay, so when you go to take guitar lessons, one of the first things they'll show you is, here is this shape. We're going to call this E, and they don't explain what we've been doing the last 6 modules as to what goes into making an E chord. That's why we're doing this now. Okay, so glance on the right side of page 62. You got that big old diagram that's now in a vertical orientation with the numbers indicating which fingers are a recommended fingering. Okay? Keep in mind, when you ever see a chord diagram that has a recommended fingering, it may not be the one you want. It's just a recommended one to try. There's situations where I'll use maybe 3 or 4 different fingerings for a given chord based on what I'm going to do on the guitar. Okay? But the 1, 2, and 3, the way they number is they leave the thumb out. If you've taken piano lessons, they usually teach that the hand is labeled 1 through 5, with the thumb being labeled 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the index finger being number 2. But typically in guitar land, they don't think about the thumb as often, and they say you have 4 fingers, so they label them 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in here, and most of the time when I do it, I go ahead and adhere to guitar 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I make a T for the thumb when it does get used. So when it says 1, I want the index finger on the G sharp. Oh, that's the wrong one. There's the G sharp. I want my middle finger, my second finger, excuse me, on the B, and my ring finger on the E. So there's my, according to that diagram. But if you can see this, you could even swap these 2 fingers if necessary. It'll work just like that. That's a, works just as well. It might fit your hand better one way or the other. Or you might be able to use one in one situation where you're trying to go to another chord. It's easier to make that move, or the other one. So there's no right way to do it, as long as you get the right strings down. Okay, but to give you a suggestion. So moving on, looking at page 63, now there are the most commonly used chord shapes that are the easy chords to get to on the guitar. Okay, so there's been a question, kind of recurring question that's gone through the course as to why 88 Dynamite is by Eddie. And the more you mess around with these chord shapes, the more you'll realize that they're really pretty easy in comparison to all the other possible chords to grab a hold of those chord shapes based on the way the human hand is built and how to grab the notes that you need in order to make it work. Okay, so that's why we have 88 Dynamite. It makes basically these chords right there easy. Okay, there's obviously other chords we want to make. The other chords take a little more complexity and a little bit harder to make, which we're going to get to. But notice the first one is the first in the top left is the E chord that we just created. The next one is the A chord. But I want you to see something. At the top of that diagram, on the far left, at the top, you see an X. The X means don't play that string at all. Okay? The O means you're going to play the string open. And if there's neither an X or an O, there ought to be a little finger indicator to fret it. So you'll notice on all of these diagrams, and any diagram you see should have either an X on the string to not play, an O on the string to play it open, or on that string somewhere should be an indicator where your finger ought to go to fret it. Okay? So when I go to play that A chord, 1, 2, and 3, the 1 is on the D string at the 2nd fret. So here's D string, 2nd fret, boom. The 2 is on the G string, 2nd fret, that's an A. And the 3 is on a C sharp, making our A major chord right there. And you'll notice that of the 8 chords we have there, 7 of them you wrote out at the bottom of quiz 5 and 6. So if you're thinking, what are the pitches of that D minor again? I think we wrote them out in the bottom of quiz 5 and 6 if you want to check them out. Okay? So these shapes correspond to the notes that are needed to make those chords. These are the easy ones. But if I make an A major chord, and I don't want an altered bass, I want a straight A major, I'll play this like the shape shows, but I'll specifically not play the E string that's on the top. If I do, that would be an A altered bass. It would be an A chord with an E in the bass. So for this moment, I don't want that. I just want a straight A chord. So I'm going to not pluck that string, and I'm going to start at the A and only do 5 strings. And there's my A chord with the root like it should be. Does that make sense? Sort of, kind of. Way too much sense. Awesome, we're way past this. We're going to keep trucking. Let's look at the D chord. D chord shape on this diagram, there's lots of ways of playing D. As if you did your bonus exercise from the homework, you found out there's lots of ways of creating triads on the fretboard. But the easy one, the first one, is you can start off with D, is not playing these top 2 strings at all, making the open D string be your bottom note, your lowest pitch. So that's why you got two X's on these two guys. You got an O on the D string, and then you got the fret making this shape right here. And there's the D chord. D, F sharp, and A. Open D, G at the fret, second fret, D at the third fret, excuse me, B string at the third fret makes a D, and our F sharp is on the bottom of the voicing, top of the chord. Second fret of the E string is F sharp. I could play the fifth string and it'd be a D with an A in the bass. That makes sense?